The Prophet, peace be upon him, said that one of you will have this self-inquiry, and you will say to yourself, just observing creation, who created this? And you will say, Allah. Who created that? And you will say, Allah. Who created this? And you will say, Allah. And then something will say, well, who created Allah? And the Prophet said, don't even attempt to answer that question. At that point, say, Amantu billahi wa rasuli. I believe in God and His Messenger. That I believe. That belief in God as the uncreated creator, this is where rational inquiry stops. Because rational inquiry might say everything created needs a creator. Everything designed needs a designer. But if you say, but who created Allah? This is when you say, no, Amantu billahi wa rasuli. I believe in God and His Messenger. He said, if you go out on any busy street, on a sunny day, a cloudless day, and you just poll a random person, what's the most impressive thing you can see right now? He said they will look at buildings. In our time, some people might look at cars. They might look at beautiful people. Some people might look at trees. Some people might even look at the sky. He said almost nobody would say the sun. If I said, what's the most impressive thing that you can see right now? He said almost nobody would say the sun. Even though the sun is the physical source of their existence. They wouldn't say the sun. Why? Because it's so consistent. It's there every day. So it can be taken for granted. He said God's existence is so manifest that it can be taken for granted. It can be forgotten. It can be disregarded because it's that consistent. One of the things that really compels me about faith is that I have met very intelligent people that were disbelievers, that were atheists. And I have met very intelligent people that were believers. And I have met very unintelligent people that were atheists. And I have met very unintelligent people that were believers. That belief in God is not something, it is not contingent upon intelligence. Not in the way that we typically think of intelligence. It's contingent upon something else. God in the Quran says, Ulul Albab, the people of innermost core. It takes a certain kind of perceptiveness, a certain kind of awareness to live in the presence of God. But it is not about accumulating facts. It's not about that. It takes a certain kind of perceptiveness, a certain kind of awareness. It's like, I don't see how a person can actually live, really experience just life, love and loss, triumph and trials, ups and downs, coincidences, dreams, all of that, and then say, but it's all for nothing. We will just die and turn into dust. It's all for nothing. So all of this significance, all of this meaning that we're groping for, and it's all, none of it's actually here. It's all for nothing. No, that's not about intelligence. I would call that, it's a sense. That no, there's a purpose. There's a meaning. All of this is too subtle. It's all too symmetrical. It's all too balanced for this to simply come about by chance and mean nothing. You don't have to be intelligent to perceive that, but you do have to you have to be in touch with that part of you that wants meaning. Blindness is referenced in the Quran or the Sunnah, there's always a reference to spiritual blindness. There's always a reference to spiritual blindness. And sometimes the example of a person who is unable to see is being used as an example for a person that is spiritually unable to see. But Islam never attaches a devaluation to people that are differently abled. Right? My teacher in Quran, his name was Sheikh Sayyid Hamid Mahmoud. I studied with him in Egypt, and he was blind. He was born blind. He is one of the most amazing human beings I have ever seen, I have ever laid eyes on. This man was incredible. Incredible. I will tell you stories about Sheikh Sayyid, you will say, no, get out. So I remember, I was introduced to him by a student from Montreal named Ali. Ali was like, recite the Quran. I recited the Quran. Ali said, you really need a teacher. Come on, take you to Sheikh Sayyid. Right? And even now, if I leave Maghrib, I want you to know, I am the worst of anyone who has ever read with Sheikh Sayyid. Qurra, reciters of the Quran, used to sit in his house trembling, reciting Fatiha. That is how his hearing was like sonar or something like that. He was a scary man. But when you walked into his house, you looked on his bookshelf, you saw like cereal boxes pressed down. And it was just the strangest thing to me, like different boxes of cereal, like pressed into bookcases. And I just didn't ask. I just said, there's a lot of stuff about Egypt that I don't understand. Why would anybody smash cereal boxes and collect them? But I just didn't ask. So one day I came early for my class, and his son Muhammad was reading a book to him, and Sheikh Sayyid was punching the book into the cereal box in Braille. That's how he would make books himself. His son would read to him, and he would make the book into Braille himself. And when he finished it, he put it on the bookcase. His whole library was cereal boxes. This is amazing. And I said, well, Sheikh, if Muhammad reads the book to you, why do you need to punch the book into Braille? He said, this is for other people who are unable to see. Maybe they would like access to this beautiful Islamic tradition that we have. So I'm making the books for them. Like, just tremendous human being. I mean, I was blown away. I said, SubhanAllah. Now, the funny story about Sheikh Sayyid, I really loved him. And sometimes if I was just in Darasa, I was just in Hussein, he lived in Darasa, he lived in Hussein. And I just wanted to see him. I would just, bad manners, just pop up unannounced, just knock on the door. But whenever I did that, he would just open the door and say, Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh Ubaydullah. And I was like, hey man, how do you know it's me? I said, did somebody tell you that I'm coming? Did you get a call? He said, I said, is Allah like revealing it to you through ilham? You know, Americans always think something is sensational. He said, a young student always thinks something is sensational. Allah is like revealing to you. He said, no. He said, everybody who comes to my apartment, they have to go up the staircase. And everybody who visits me has a distinct gait. He said, you take the first 2 steps quickly. The next 3 steps slowly. And the last 2 steps quickly. And then your knock is. He said, I have about 100 students. I know all of their walk and all of their knock. فقدان الحاسة. When a person loses a sense, other senses become strengthened. I said, you know it's me by my walk? By your walk. I know everybody who visits me by their walk. Tremendous human being. So if you read anything in an Islamic text, the Quran or otherwise, about blind this, blind that, do not associate Islam with ableism. It's using that as an analogy to refer to spiritual blindness.